Going to go now. We're going to go to Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, who is live at the big Labour launch.
Yes, thanks very much, Jake. We just had that big speech there by the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, and by the Deputy leader, Angela Rayner. Really a speech in which the Labour Party is setting out its arguments not only ahead of the local elections, which will take place on the 2nd of May, but also in the wider general election build-up. That general election now not expected until later in the year. A lot of analysts saying that that will come in October. And in this wide-ranging speech that we heard, we actually had glimmers of what Labour is trying to portray is hope if people vote for a Labour government. They say that under the past 14 years, the Conservatives have brought services down, that public services from community level through to care, through to after-school clubs have been deteriorated, that people have lost hope with the body politic, along with the hope that anything can change. And so the Labour Party says that it will bring its own version of levelling up in an act called Taking Back Control, although you may have heard that before under the Theresa May government, because it was a three-word slogan that was used repeatedly as the UK was preparing to leave the EU. Now, you will not have failed to have noticed that there had been praise in the Times newspaper today for Boris Johnson's levelling up agenda, and previously we've heard praise as well for Maggie Thatcher, another former Conservative Prime Minister. And this seems to be a tactic now where Labour is trying to convince Conservative voters to switch sides and to come join the Labour movement. How successful that will be will remain to be seen in terms of the turnout, in terms of the votes that are tallied for the Labour Party in the election in May and in any subsequent general election. Some of the other main points that we've heard from that speech is that the Labour Party wants to see growth in every part of the country as part of this levelling up agenda of its own. It intends to do that by devolving more powers to various councils, to local leaders, to mayors. But when faced with repeated questions about how that would be funded, and considering the fact that a lot of local authorities are very close to the point of bankruptcy, there didn't seem to be any firm commitment that the amount outstanding for councils to lift them out of that threat of bankruptcy would be forthcoming. Another issue that was raised in this speech was about getting more cash into people's pockets, and Labour is saying that by giving more money to local authorities, to local leaders, they will then spend that, say, on a housing project. That housing project will then create jobs, which in turn will boost money in the local economy. So that was the general gist of what we've had here today in Dudley, in the West Midlands, where it's got to be said, Boris Johnson made his original pledge to level up the country. And of course, levelling up or dealing with regional inequalities is nothing new, according to Keir Starmer. He says that it wasn't like Boris Johnson came up with it in 2019, but he does say that it was a good policy that was tried to be enacted under Boris Johnson, but that ultimately, when Rishi Sunak was the Chancellor, he killed it before it even had a chance to get off the ground.
Ollie, thank you for joining us there from the West Midlands. So, Stella, bit of political cross-dressing by the Labour Party. Is this going to work?
I think what is very interesting about what I have been hearing from Oliver is I'm wondering how well does Labour need to do for us to basically accept that it's going to be a Tory wipeout when it comes to the general elections. I mean, Oliver mentioned, you know, the elephant in the room, which is the fact that a lot of local councils are going bust in the next year or so.
Well, of course, that has been one of the criticisms, of course. It is a Labour council in Birmingham that has gone bust. So how do you give...
It's not going to be a Labour council. It's going to be all sorts of councils in the next year.
OK, it may be, but let's... You know, Mystic Meg has been dead, the late, great Mystic Meg has been dead for some time. So let's stop gazing in our collective crystal ball. There's somewhere where we know it's happened, and that's Birmingham. Council tax having to go up by, I think, over 20%. How do you devolve power, more power, which seems to be the pitch that they are making, to bankrupt Labour councils, Stella?
Well, there are two things there, right? For one, the criticism of the Levelling Up Fund was that, and Andy Street said that with a conservative politician, the conservative mayor, he said that the Levelling Up Fund basically meant that local authorities had to go cap in hand to Westminster without having control of that budget. So that's the main criticism. One thing that the Labour Party said they're going to do, which I think is going to be welcomed by a lot of different sectors, especially in the third sector, is that they will try to have longer term funding for councils so that they have more control.
I feel they already have that.
So rather
you have
than 1 year, now they have more
they have a
3-year
multi-year settlement to areas where they have a devolution deal. So they've already been given that by the Conservative government. So what's going to be different under Labour?
No, this is a new thing that the Labour is going to do.
Stella, Stella, it's a bit unfair for you, because I used to be the Minister for Devolution. So this is, hello, mastermind. I'm on my specialist subject. Sorry for all of you at home dozing off. But actually, there's something called a multi-year gain share agreement, which is as dry as dust. So where you have a devolution settlement, so Greater Manchester, for the West Midlands, or Tees Valley, you already have a multi-year large financial settlement. So what's going to be different under Labour?
So are you suggesting that the service providers on the ground are they lying? Are you suggesting that this is the complaints about the funding being too short term all the time, and that it is not possible for them to?
No, Stella, I'm not suggesting they're lying, but so what I don't really understand, I'll be completely honest with you, I'm a big fan of levelling up, a big fan of devolution, but ultimately, the ultimate destination of that is, in effect, a federal United Kingdom where you balance the powers of the big, powerful local authorities like the Greater Manchester Authority, the one I know best, and Westminster, and you get into that push me, pull me of powers. Now, I don't think Britain will be worse because of it, but it's a massive change. Is that what Labour is proposing? It's something I support. It's not supported by the Conservative Party or the government, but Jake Berry buries Britain. You would move towards that. Is that where the Labour Party taking us?
What we know about local government and about spending money locally is that you need the people who take the decisions about how money is spent to be people who really know the area, who really know the needs, who really know how to build the services that the people there need. So you can't have blanket policies. You cannot just say something sounds good to Westminster, so we're going to do it.
Stella, okay, so I understand all of that, but you're a former Labour advisor. This is the Labour Party's election launch, whether it be the general election or local election. Sounds like it's a bit of both. Now, I said, at the start of this year, Keir Starmer, I don't think he understands the area outside London. He represents 2 tube stations, Holborn and St Pancras. That's his constituency. He is allegedly thinks, this is Rishi Sunak's joke, by the way, it's the only good joke ever, the Angel of the North is a tube station on the Northern Line in London. I don't think they get levelling up. So it's all very well to say, well, wouldn't it be nice to give more power back to people, take back control, give more money? How? That's what the British public want to hear.
Why are you saying that they don't get levelling up?
Well, mainly because they spent the last 5 years opposing it, Stella.
They haven't been opposing levelling up as an idea. They have been opposing They have been opposing the way that levelling up has been rolled out or not. For example, you had the levelling up white paper, and then as soon as Rishi Sunak came to power, he basically scrapped it. So you can't say that exactly this has been a long-term policy, which is, it goes back to the problem. Like you see, for example, with HS2, we now know that it's going to cost an insane amount of money. I can't remember, it was something like 47 billion.
Yeah, but Stella, but let's talk about, HS2 is a bit about levelling up, but let's talk about levelling up, because it really matters. If people are watching and listening at home, it really matters. So let me tell you what the government's done. I know because I was the person who's done it, right? So they've done devolution deals across the United Kingdom. They've done North Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, the West Midlands, the Tees Valley, Greater Manchester. They've done that. There's not a Labour government.
They've done that at the same time.
We've done towns deals, including in Rosendale and Darwin. We've done levelling up. We've done high street funds. So a lot has happened. So surely if Keir Starmer says levelling up was strangled at birth, that is demonstrably untrue. He's not being straight with people. He's trying to pull the wool over their eyes.
Your own mayor, Andy Street, is saying that the levelling up agenda so far has been the local authorities going cap in hand to Westminster. So why is... I don't disagree with, but it depends still on what you want to do.
Going back to my argument about a federal Britain, so if local authorities don't go cap in hand to central government, because all our taxpayers' cash, and this is the thing, taxpayers' government money, it's all our money, gets paid to the central government and then gets distributed out. So maybe what Keir Starmer is saying, I don't know, I wasn't there, is that we'll move to a system like they have in the United States where you have local income tax, you have local other taxation, local property taxes, local business taxes, and they will spend it themselves. So is Keir Starmer proposing, I don't think either of us know, but is Keir Starmer proposing, right, in his version of Britain, you will pay income tax to your local mayor and he will spend it? Or is he proposing, which I think he is, that it's still all collected by the Treasury? And if it is all collected by the Treasury, of course local areas have to go and ask for it. And I'll tell you, the biggest enemy of levelling up is not Rishi Sunak, it's not Boris Johnson, it's not Keir Starmer, it's not Angela Rayner. The biggest enemy of levelling up is the Treasury, because the Treasury has never believed in it. And I tell you, I don't think it matters who is in government. We live in the most over-centralised country in Europe. The Treasury holds all the purse strings. It is the Treasury who doesn't believe in levelling up, and it's the Treasury that should be reformed.
I completely agree that the Treasury is a sclerotic institution that needs reform. However, you cannot tell me that for the last few years we haven't seen basically local councils, because very often their budgets are not protected in the same way that,
but
for
Stella,
example,
you're making the mistake. You're making the mistake that I think Keir Starmer's made a mistake. Levelling up is not about your local council having enough money to empty your bins. It's about transforming your economy.
Yes, it's a separate fund. It's a separate fund. And yet, you cannot tell me what has been happening in a lot of places is they are asked to use the levelling up fund when they don't have enough money to cover their basic needs because their budgets have been cut to the bone and they're being forced to raise council taxes.
It's all very well to say that. It's wrong. Levelling up is about transforming your economy. The money that has been given out, billions of pounds to local authorities, has been given out, is ring-fenced to spend on developing your economy. It is separate. I'm not saying there's not an issue.
There is
I'm not saying there's not an issue with people.
Stella,
let me finish, please. I'm not saying there's not an issue with local authorities having the money to pave your roads, do your thing, but it's separate.